I spent far too many years of my life in fear, being afraid of everything and literally nothing, like the idea of nothingness. And I decided I just couldn't carry it anymore. And ironically, I found that I had been living into my fear and turning that fear into my superpower the whole time.
Help Me See is a podcast based in intention, purpose, and heart. Vulnerable, real conversations challenging the norms and empowering you to harness your intentional vision for your purposeful life. Around here, we're not about the small talk. We're unpacking all of the unnecessary crap that we've carried with us for far too long. Some of these episodes are solo style. I like to call them my little audio journal with my innermost thoughts that leave me thinking, am I the only one that feels like this? And then some super inspiring guests having conversations that I truly feel like are needed in today's world. Listen into a new episode every Wednesday and leave inspired by your everyday with the deep peace of knowing that you're not alone and have the innate power to make this life count.
Have you ever just felt like you're missing it and you're not even sure what it is? And then all of a sudden you look back at like baby pictures of your kid and you don't even understand where the time went in the most cliche way. That's why I created Nostalgia Now. Imagine if you were able to just activate your nostalgia vision in any given moment and just know that you're really seeing it, that you're really experiencing your good old days now. That's what we do in Nostalgia Now. Nostalgia Now is a monthly membership that is filled with doable, sustainable practices that we'll actually carry with us in our lives. We meet once a month where we connect and make things on purpose, where we actually do something with the photos that just sit on our phone of our precious memories. Join us at the intersection of photographic practice, connecting to your truth, and creative expression so that you can live more of your life on purpose. And because I'm just opening this beautiful community, I have a special offer. If you join with a buddy or a bestie, you get half off. You each get half off your monthly membership fee for the duration, for as long as you stay in your membership. So if you buddy up, you both get half off. Have the peace of mind of knowing you'll never have to say, I wish I knew how important that was at the time. Click the link in the show notes or link in bio on Instagram. Find out everything you need to know. Before we hop into the show, I'd love to invite you to pay attention to who pops into your mind as you're listening to this episode. If you're listening to this and have someone in mind that you think could benefit, go ahead and text it to them and let them know why it is you thought about them. It's a super powerful thing to feel seen. And if you felt seen through this episode, I would be so grateful if you spread the love and also took the time to write a review so that more people like you could find their way to this little nook and cranny of this cyber world. Good evening. So I'm doing a thing. I'm going to actually record tomorrow's podcast episode live through Instagram. I had this thing happen with my usual process for recording the podcast, and it's not working. So I'm going to double down and just record it live, where I cannot edit, I cannot sit for 2 minutes and search for my thoughts. I'm just here. So my business coach and mentor, Amber Lillestrom, is hosting this awesome 4-day challenge that I'm part of. And her activation, her assignment for day 2 is to write a post for your former self. And that's something that I come across a lot in the work that I'm doing. You always hear, just speak to the former version of yourself, speak to the former version of yourself. And it's always confusing to me to do that, to think about what that would mean for me, because I don't have a clear before and after in what I'm doing, because I've always just kind of been like this and done all of the work that I've done. But when I really sat and thought about it for a second, I thought about this terrifying moment when I was in middle school or something. I was laying in bed and trying to go to sleep, and I was in a dark room, and I just kept thinking of nothingness, just like nothing. It's probably my first time really thinking about death. And I just kept thinking of the idea of nothingness, like nothing mattering, just nothing that I get, my favorite color, my favorite band, none of it mattered, just nothingness. And I had this like debilitating panic and fear wash over. And that, I have a really bad memory, but that was, ironically, but that was like a pivotal point in my life. And that's something that I remember clearly, the feeling of that, the sickening fear that like anything and everything that I've ever cared about or would ever care about would eventually turn into nothingness. And with that came this panic and this need to like make it count. I need to make it count. I need to do things with intention. I need to, X, Y, Z while I'm here. So if you could imagine, that started when I was in middle school. So my version of that, growing up when I was, younger, was making keepsake boxes that were like filled with pictures that I took with my, disposable cameras, and I don't know what else I did. I was keeping my mom's grease-stained lunch notes and, all of the things like that, because I was always looking for ways to prove, like to leave proof behind, like to leave evidence of like, this mattered. Like maybe eventually I'll be nothing, but this mattered. And here I took a picture of it. So very early on, my photographs and the things that I chose to keep became this archive that I looked to for comfort and to make things, to show people how much I cared, to just be my proof looking back to myself, and to be all of these things for me. So in that, fast forward, I got more and more into the arts, and, art for me is a way of discovering or being able to say and being able to show things that I don't have words for, right? And that innately is what photographs do. Like you look at it for a second and you can think of 4,000 different things, and it's also nuanced and complicated, but also simple at the same time. So it's really, really, really interesting. But with the photographs, I was finding that it wasn't just having them that was important. It was also the taking of them. It was also the experience that I was having in the forethought or the lack of thought, just like the autopilot gut impulse in taking the photo. And I started to get really, really passionate about the idea of the mundane. And I think that can sound cliche now, because I think that it's just become a word that we use a lot. And I think that at this point, it's pretty well known that the mundane is the thing. The mundane is actually where the magic in our lives is. So I really started doubling down on that. And all of the the work that I've started to teach about and the classes I've made and the courses, it's all about, being able to notice what you notice through your photographic practice. And that sounds like a big fancy thing, but your photographic practice is literally like that moment where you pull out your camera and you take a picture. So when we think about what we're taking pictures of, and I think about how important it is to take photos of those moments of nothingness, the non-events, I was able to find really, really deeply sad proof of this when my dog passed. So like this fear that I carried around with me my whole life of like feeling this nothingness for something that is so important to me came to fruition, and it was with my dog passing. And, obviously being a photographer, I have a bunch of beautiful like photographs of him, but the photos that I kept going back to that really made me smile, that really just made me feel all fuzzy inside, were the shitty ones. It was the ones where he was grainy or blurry, but I caught like a really funny expression on his face, or just us cuddling in bed with my cell phone. And that really lit a fire under my ass about the idea of making it known that although I strongly believe in the experience of hiring someone to photograph the most important things to you, your life, yourself alone, your family, events that are important to you, whatever it is, there's immense value in that. But at the end of the day, the most important photos of your life are the ones that you take yourself in those intimate, quiet, nothingness moments. So really, ironically, through all this, when I think about what I would want to tell my former self about, what it is that could comfort or help in any way, there's nothing I could have told her, because I'm pretty crazy and intense. And when I have a thought, it's like a dog on a bone. But, but my now is this ironic, it's nothingness, but nothingness is everything. Like nothingness, what I've been afraid of since that moment where I realized that nothingness is a thing. Nothingness is really the most everything we can have. And that sounds kind of meta and crazy, but like if you think about space and you think about the space between objects or, the air, we think that we're so big. We think that the objects and our houses and this and that, but like it's the nothingness where everything is. So if we just let ourselves find comfort in the nothingness, then I think we might have a little bit more fun and perspective in this life. And I say that because that is what I need to tell my former self. So, I'm not quite sure if this was what the assignment had in mind. This is what my mentor had in mind, but this is what came to me. This is what I thought of when I was in the shower thinking, oh my God, I have a headache. I don't know what to do. I don't want to start over editing the podcast episode that was supposed to drop, which I'll just have to move to next week. It's a really exciting one with a guest speaker. So I look forward to dropping that one. But this just felt really, 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 really timely. This is me wanting to speak to anyone that feels like this urgency and this overwhelm and this pressure and this almost like breathing through a straw of like, I have to do the most important thing to me and I have to like really make this count. But really, all you have to really do is just be with yourself, be in the here and now. And there's nothing you have to do in order to enjoy your life. And if you look back in your photo scroll of some of your favorite photographs, I'm gonna bet a lot of them are in your nothingness, in the unplanned, in all of the moments that you couldn't have possibly planned for or over controlled, because really those are the moments that become the least gratifying for me. My favorite photograph that I have of myself with my kids is a photo of me standing on the stairs, and there was some beautiful light going on, and I was like desperately wanting my kids to cooperate. I have like a 1 and a 3-year-old cooperate. What does that even mean? And it was finally when I just relaxed and I looked at the camera like, I surrender. My 3-year-old, or my baby in my arms, looked at the camera, and then my 3-year-old, he peeked his head down in between the stairs in this perfect patch of light. And it's like my most favorite photograph. And it was just when I let go. So this is me letting go. I'm letting go of the idea of what I thought me recording my podcast would look like. I am speaking to my former self, which feels so specific. It feels like, how could anyone possibly relate? But in my past experiences, I found that those are the times where people can relate the deepest. So I hope that if you're sitting there saying like, holy shit, really? Me too? Send me a message. Throw me a coconut on this island that I feel like I'm on by myself. But I know I'm not. Even if I don't specifically know people that have gone through the same thing, I know the importance of feeling like you're making your life count and things feeling just too precious for words. And luckily, we have photographs to help us through that. That's my modality. What's yours? I'd love to hear. Okay. I think that's all she wrote for this evening. I haven't drinking enough of my tea. I should have actually probably caffeinated myself a little bit more before this recording. But maybe next time. Maybe I'll record another live podcast episode. Or maybe I'll never do this again. Who knows? Anyway. Well, thank you so much for lending an ear. And stay tuned for next week, because I have a really awesome coach coming on to chat through. And she has some awesome actionable tips on how to navigate some of the tough stuff in life. So I look forward to seeing you then. I will drop this into the podcast app. That's all. Have a good night, guys.